Boston. And these guys would come in from the fraternities, these Army and Navy guys, in other words, they were officer training. There would be probably 10 or 12 of them come in for a haircut. And there I was, the only barber in that place. And then they come in, one of my good friends would come in that I'd been cutting their hair, and I couldn't get to him. And there was a guy, a minister, I think, from Pine Grove, was sitting in the chair. And I asked him how long it would take. Well, he said, you can multiply the number of us that's here by 13 minutes because that's what average time was. Some a little bit more than that, some a whole lot less than that. And that was really something. I took a bunch of these students over. Oh, Lord, I went over to out the Beaver House way out there at the corner of Atherton Street and Beaver Avenue. I'd eat out there. And these guys would come in there, a whole bunch of them, and they'd put all the food on the table. And when they put the food on the table, buddy, you better hope that you're up pretty close to where they set it on the table. These guys had monstrous appetites. And Eddie Binns, who is a movie star, and you've probably seen him on the screen, was the most egotistical ass I ever met in my life. And he used to come in, and I'd cut his hair. And he had a girlfriend by the name of Ruth. But years later, when he happened to be in State College, and I call him, he couldn't remember me, or he couldn't remember Mom out of the Martin Cresswell, I think it was, the cook out at the Beaver House. He couldn't remember any of that. But he had a brother by the name of Johnny, who was a soccer player, and he was a terrific soccer player. And while I was there, this Bill Jeffries was the soccer coach. And his wife, I think, went down to Puerto Rico or somewhere, and she disappeared. They never did find her. He lived opposite the, over in Bollesburg, opposite the shrine, or up over in there. I'm trying to think a little bit here and keep straight. And then I got my brother down here, and the whole family came down here, and we lived in a house on. Or in an apartment on Pew Street. Was it Gensel's apartment? Oh man, there's so much I could talk about that I'm just running a little bit out of wind, and I'm going to stop this damn thing for a minute. Well, I have to get my breath back so I can now talk again. And sort of I lost contact as to where I was at. But I know that my family was down here now, and we were living in the Gensel building, right across from old Nanny Glenn's place. This Jack Smith, who was an auctioneer, sold later on, and he was having about happy fits about how much he got for it, $70,000, which was a lot of money in those days. Today, he'd probably sell it for $7 million. Got a frog in the damn throat. Junior just called from Arizona. And he said it was down in the 40s out there. He says, that's cold. And he said, you going to Florida? I said, yeah. Well, he says, it's cold down there. I said, no, it's not. I said, it's a lot warmer down here. What is it? You're in the State College right now. I think it was 19 this morning. And then Connie just called, and she wants to know whether I want to stay here today and go out to eat or whatnot. But that's not telling the story about the rest of it I want to talk about. There's some parts in Illinois that I wanted to hit on. We moved out there in 1922, and I was a lost little chicken, by God. I'm telling you, I was lonesome and not very happy. We lived in Rockford, Illinois, on Blend Street, and my father worked in a barber shop in some hotel there, and then he wouldn't get home until only on the weekends, and I missed him so much that I had my mother keep me up awake until he got home. I was damn homesick to see my dad. Well, then we moved out to Pecatonica, which is a little town called P-E-C-A-T-O and I-C-A. And those were some of the best years of my life. I was a teenager growing up with Kenny Fannin, who was my next door neighbor, one of my best friends. and we'd go fishing, and then we'd go swimming out to Sumner's Hole, as they called it, which was about 4 miles from Pecatonica. Walk out there and go skinny dipping. I didn't know what a swimming suit was like at that time until I got acquainted to it a little later on and got a sunburn. Then we'd go down to Buda at night where my mother's sister, Aunt Anna, lived, and Uncle George, and Aunt Helen, and the Aunt Anna's son, Marshall Reed. She was married to Harry Reed, grumpy old guy, but a kind hearted as the devil. And she had Marshall, or Jake, was the oldest son, and then there was Bill, who was the youngest one, and there was Fern, and I can't right now. I can't think of the other ones. There was a couple of other girls, Dorothea, and then younger one. Dorothea was sick all the time, and the boys kept tame raccoons, and they went fishing and hunting, and then they ran around with a crazy coot, who evidently was a spoiled son of somebody in town there, and they had first a Model A Ford, brand new Model A Ford at the time, and he'd take them out and run them up and down the road, and they said he'd wait until the train was coming, then he'd slow down, and then when the train was getting closer, he'd tear across the railroad tracks, and they thought sure as hell that the train was going to hit him on a number of occasions. I can't, what the devil was in his name. Now, I should have told all this a couple of weeks ago when I was thinking a little bit better. What his name was. But anyways, my dad drove an old Briscoe touring car down there, and it stalled and stopped every now and then, and he had to get out and fool around and work with it. He used a filing to rough up the, Fred would know what I'm talking, rough up the clutch plate on the darn thing. And then we'd take off again. He would smoke cigars, and I was supposed to keep him awake. And I don't know how far it was from Pecatonica to Buda, but maybe about, maybe 60 miles. And then there would days to take about 2 hours to get down there. Darn automobile would go about 25 or 30 miles an hour. And they had a Model T Ford, the boys did down there. And we'd go out for a ride in it, and the spark lever was underneath the steering wheel, and the gas lever was on the other side of the steering wheel, and then they pulled it down and hanged the two of them together, and that was top speed. This was probably around 30, 35 miles an hour. We go down the road. It's a wonder I didn't get killed. Bunch of reckless coons. Okay, well, we used to go down there about once a month or something like that and stack up with my Aunt Anna and Uncle George. Uncle George was a crispy old Jack of Lantern, or what you want to call him. A nice guy, my mother's brother. I bought him cigars, or not cigars, but pipes later on when I'd go down there to see him. And I can remember one time when Helen was evidently giving him a sponge bath, and he said, "Hey, hell, that wife's water's cold." He's sort of a crabby, and he'd call him as he seen him. Well, of course, later on he died. Then I went back to Pecatonica and played with Kenny Fannin and with Dr. Ben Snell, who was the doctor's son. Became a surgeon, and later on in life, we played football together, went swimming together, and they had a royal old time camping over what they call the bluffs. We didn't have any air mattresses to lay on there. We laid on blankets, threw it on the floor, and boy, that's on the ground, and that's hard. But we'd go swimming, and then one night they went on a midnight hike, and went out across, and Don was, he was about 9 years old then. I was around 12, and they got us to a cemetery, and there was a wrought iron fence there, and we had to climb over that, and then, boy, we got a school town piece. The town was there, well, not your high school, but on some of your Halloween pranks. And so went down there, and Sheldon Hammer was it? Hummer, I guess was the cop's name. He used to sleep in my dad's barbershop at nights, but I go there in the morning and find an empty alcohol bottle. I'm going to try to talk now, and I hope it goes on there. Well, anyways, he accosted all these fellows, and they told about the ones they upset, and then he came around to me. He said, how many did you upset? I said, none. And he got mad. He said, you're the only liar in the bunch. I said, well, ask them. I'm not going to lie to you. They said, nope, he wasn't with us. Well, he said, did you upset any? I said, yes, our own. Well, he said, you're going to have to set that one straight, but you're going to have to help these guys set theirs up. So that's the way I went. But this old Sheldon Rumler was his name. I swear to God, he drank some of my dad's tonic. I don't know. He was a character. Supposed to be a real rough, tough guy. There's a lot of them. Then there was another guy out there. It was a farmer. He wouldn't leave me alone, and I told my dad about him. Oh, he said he don't mean anything. Well, kids can sense it too. And then Ralph Wright, who was a Boy Scout leader, was the same way. And not a bunch of little angels living in Pecatonica, but old Kenny Fannin and I went swimming together, we fished together, and he could always catch the damn fish, and I couldn't catch anything. And somebody poisoned some of the dogs out there, and I was broken-hearted. And I had a dog by the name of Skookum that my dad raised. He was the best friend, one of the best friends I ever had. And that's where I'm going to leave Illinois and come back to Pennsylvania. Junior just called me on the phone, and I worry a little bit about him because he has heart condition, and I think it's hereditary from his mother's parents because they all died in their 70s or younger. But he had a good wife. Cynthia Myers was her name. She lived in Lemont. And Junior had a rough time growing up. He was in the Marines for 5 years. And I told him, I said, well, I wasn't too good a dad to you. And he said, no, he said, you were all right. Sometime you have to crack down. He's the only one of my children that I ever got rough with. I came home one night, and he threatened to, Anita said he threatened to kill her, and I woke him up. I told him, I said, I can't go away with that threat. I said, you're going to have to tell me you're sorry. And he wouldn't admit it. So I took him out and got the other stairs, and I hit him. I knocked him all the way down the steps. My mother was bawling, and Anita was bawling. I followed him out. I said, come on, you're outside. I took him all the way down to the police station, the barracks. And I thought, well, if I take him in there, I've lost control. So I talked to him, and he was crying, and I said, come on, we go back. And that's the last time we ever had any problems listening. And Pat was a little devil, too. I told him once, I chased him all the way around the house. He crawled under the porch. I said, you come out of there. No, he said, you whip me. I said, you come on out. No, you whip me. I said, all right, I won't whip you. He said, you promise? I said, yeah. So he came out. I didn't like him. I promised him I wouldn't. And I finally had to pay for some of those globes that covers over the light globes out there. Because he and Ralph and Mike, and I guess Joe Coble and one of the Myers brothers broke them. And old Charlie Flugelman told me, he says, the next one, he always talks like this, the next one you're going to have to pay for. I paid for a windshield in I think it was John Niddick's car. I paid for one up at the church. And I don't know how many winners I put in the property there. Well, that's enough of Lemont. I'm going to be running out of words. I'm not running out of words. I can talk for 2 hours. But Connie wants this. She's the father of Fred. Fred is 31 years old. He graduates in December the 17th at Bryce Jordan at 9 o'clock in the morning. And you talk about two proud parents. They tried to kill him, shot him when he was down working for Discount Auto when he was about 16 years old. And that is another story. And 3 little boys, Brian, Carter.